Come on in, guys. How are you? I want to tell you a little story. We're going to go back to the release of the Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set and how it was one of the biggest fumbles in Scream Factory history. Now, the box set is great, don't get me wrong. But the release of it may cause some certain panic attacks for those that, well, had multiple problems. So the year's 2020. We're in the midst of a horrible pandemic. Life is not good. Everything is bad. A lot of us were just looking for some glimmer of hope at the time. Now, for horror fans, one thing going on that we were all devastated about was the Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller lawsuit. Now, if you don't know much about that, basically, there's a law that says after 35 so years, the writer for the script of a movie can buy back his script so he can have the intellectual property in that script to then make actual money off of. Now, this caused a big lawsuit between Victor and Sean, and at the time, it put a halt to the Gun Media Friday the 13th video game everybody was playing on PlayStation 4 and Xbox. And so we were devastated. The Friday the 13th fans were just so bummed out. Here we are, we're at the house. It's a horrible time, and we're just looking for something to give us a little bit of happiness and one of our favorite games, because believe me, Friday the 13th, so many people were playing it. I was playing it at the time, too, and I was having such a great time. It was done. There was not going to be no Lazarus stage or anything like that. It was just horrible. We were all bummed out. And all of a sudden, Dawn of the Discs made this post saying, Friday the 13th box set from Scream Factory. People were shocked. They couldn't believe it. No, there's a lawsuit going on. How is this possible? But sure enough, the next day, Scream Factory announced a Friday the 13th complete collection box set. Our jaws hit the floor when this came out. Nobody saw it coming. Well, some people might have had inside info, but I didn't. I do remember something interesting, though. My buddy Pizzow did this Camp Crystal Lake walkthrough video that was really cool. And I remember one day, I just happened to notice it was gone. Then I realized why. Scream Factory wanted to use this Pizz's video to put on the box set. So he had to take it down. I think it's back up now, but I didn't ask him about that, but I thought, that's interesting. Wonder what happened. Well, that's what happened. So we were all excited, and then we started to hear the rumblings of what this box set was going to be. There's going to be 4K scans of the first 4 films. Now, we were all excited about that, and I will say, out of the 4, I think Part 2's looks the best. But we were going to get color correction on Jason Lives. Tom McLaughlin was going to have this film look the way it was supposed to look. So that was really cool, too. But one of the biggest things that was a huge surprise to Friday the 13th fanatics like you and myself was they found the special effects kill scenes that were cut out of Part 2. I think Carl Fullerton or somebody who did the effects for Part 2 found a VHS tape in a shed or something, and at the last minute they got a hold of this tape. I think they might have had to bake it to be able to play it, to digitize it, but luckily they were able to play it. The quality is actually really good if you look up the special features and check that out on Part 2. And we got to see for the first time Alice's extended death scene where she gets the prod in the head and she turns and looks at the camera. Or we get to see the shish kebab kill in Part 2, which lived up to the hype. We had heard about this from His Name Was Jason and things like that, and it had gotten cut, and we all had this image of what it was going to look like. And it's one of the few times where a deleted scene lives up to what I thought it was going to look like. So that was really cool. So everybody was excited. They finally announced you can pre-order the box set on the website, and I got in there really fast. I happened to be off work that day, so I immediately pre-ordered it right then and there. The site was overloaded, and you couldn't even get on it for a few hours. The demand was so high for this, it was just incredible. It was damn near impossible to pre-order it the day of. You almost had to wait the next day. So needless to say, those bundle pre-orders with the posters, they sold out within a day. It was pandemonium. And so we were all patiently awaiting the box set, wondering what kind of special features it was going to have. Then we would learn they actually got Steve Miner to do an interview. Now, he doesn't talk about Friday the 13th a whole lot, but they did get him. There was a whole another bonus disc with some new interviews. There was this amazing making of for Jason X, where Sean Cunningham talks all about how he was at the forefront of digitizing 35mm film to do editing for. That was one of the first movies to do it. Sean was always pushing the boundaries. I'm a huge Sean Cunningham fan. He is always going to be Mr. Friday the 13th to me. You know, Then we were wondering what the discs are going to look like. Are we going to get reversible art? Everybody was excited about that. Well, we did get reversible art, but not for all the movies. Only the first 4. After that, the inside was just images from the movies. And one of the things everybody was wondering is, are we actually going to get the iconic hockey mask Friday the 13th Part 5 artwork on there? Well, we hoped we would, but unfortunately, we did not. Come release day, everybody's excited to get their box sets. We found out we were finally going to get Jason Goes to Hell uncut on a disc. If you remember the tin set, they put the rated version on there, whether by accident or not, but the digital code for the tin box set had the unrated version HD. So the HD version did exist, just not on a disc, which upset so many fans. Well, that was remedied finally. Finally, the box set started arriving, and all of a sudden, negative stuff started coming out. People started getting on Twitter, on Instagram, and saying, how could you do this, Scream Factory? I logged on to see what was going on. And sure enough, I'm hearing the kill scene in Jason Goes to Hell where the ponytail diner worker gets his hand bent in half and the bone sticks out was edited. Fans were not happy about that. They couldn't understand why. I thought we were getting the uncut version. This is the same thing over again. But then we heard about more stuff. Some of the big fans of Part 3 were trying to watch it in true 3D, not the red and green glasses or the red and blue glasses that you got on the DVD set. There was an error in the opening title font scene or something. And then I thought, okay, they're going to fix this, I guess, or maybe they won't say anything. Then we hear that Jason X is missing a scream in a kill scene where it's just gone. This made me realize 2 things. You cannot pull the wool over Friday the 13th fans. They know these movies front, right, center, backwards, upside down, inside out. Every nook and cranny. But there were 2 schools of thought during this time that were very interesting to me. Now, there were some people that were saying, how dare you guys complain about this minor stuff? That we're so grateful. We should be so lucky to have a box set like this. And then there was the other side of the coin that was saying, this is Friday the 13th. You cannot let things like this screw up. These movies are so important to so many people, and they know the movies front, right, left, center, you name it. These things have to be corrected. I tend to fall with the latter side. I mean, when you put out a Friday the 13th box set, you're damn right. This thing has to be done right. And errors like a death scene being cut in Jason Goes to Hell when we're getting not only a uncut version finally on disc, but this was a 2K scan from the Interpositive. So this was going to be the best the movie ever looked as well. We were getting a 2K scan for Jason X, which is so exciting, but it's missing an audio piece. Friday the 13th Part 3, the first time in real 3D since the weird video disc format that came out in Japan or something. We were finally getting that. There was an error. Well, finally, Scream Factory acknowledged this, and a lot of us were worried they weren't going to acknowledge this for a couple days, but sure enough, they did. And then we were welcomed to the lovely disc replacement program. Now, I think that Scream Factory could handle this a different way in the future going forward with some minor tweaks to their releasing schedule that I'll talk about. Now, we heard that the release dates were going to, the disc program was going to be happening, and finally we get this mass email saying, go to this website, type in your information, show your proof of purchase, and then your replacement discs will come. And we were all kind of scratching our heads like, why do we need to do this? We bought this from you. Why can't you replace the program? What's going on? Why can't you do it yourself? But we never got an answer. Now, the reason I think a lot of people were saying that is if you have other companies like Severin or Vinegar Syndrome have an issue, most people buy directly from the site. And if you have an error, you don't have to do anything. They're going to send you the replacement disc. I think a way Scream Factory can resolve an issue like this and make it a lot more easier for their customer base, because customer satisfaction is the best way to get repeating customers. And I think a lot of people are upset with the program because we never got a confirmation email from that. We never heard anything. It was just fill this out and hit enter and then wait for it to happen. So a lot of us were just left up with some sort of mystery of when our discs were going to come. So we did that, but I think the way to fix this is Scream Factory needs to make their release date for Amazon and their website bigger. 4 months. Because in 4 months, they could have fixed those issues for this disc. But if you think a replacement disc program was the only issue, it was not. Now, talking about this could give flashbacks to a lot of Friday the 13th fans, because a lot of people, when they got their box set, they'd open it up and they'd be shocked to see that a lot of people had two of the same movies while missing one completely. It was astounding how many people had this happen. I remember I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Paul Zamorelli, a VHS collector, open his set, and sure enough, he was missing a part 6. He had 2 part 4s or 2 part 3s. And then I said to myself, well, that's got to be a one-off. And then, no. I'd go to other sites, and it would be this different movie missing with 2 of the other ones. Some people would be missing part 7 and have 2 part 6s. Some people would be missing a part 4 and have 2 part 5s. It was a big issue. Scream Factory never came out and said who packaged all this or where they got it done. But I'd like to think that they're not using whoever that was anymore. So many discs had to be sent back, boxes sent back. They had to, I don't even know how they handled that. Did they just keep the separate disc, the spare part 4 that they might have gotten? They sent them a part 3. Did they send that back? I got lucky and that didn't happen to me. But it was a disaster at the time. If you asked anybody during the release of that, they would say Scream Factory completely fumbled the release of this box set. And yeah, the reputation of it at the time was not good. So now when you look at this box set, it's easy to say it really is one of the best box sets of all time. And it is. But for the people that ordered this the day of, they can tell you how big of a mess it was. So I wanted to go back today and just tell the story in case you might have bought this box set months later, years later. Maybe you got this not long ago because I talked about it. This was a big fumble on its initial release. Luckily, we can all look back at it now and laugh and enjoy the box set. But for people to be so excited for something, to get the same discs, replacement disc issues, fans fighting, some people saying you shouldn't be complaining about little things like that, and other people saying this is unacceptable, it was all-out war. It caused a stir. But a lot of the people worked really hard on that box set, Peter Bracke and others. There was Michael Gingold doing work, getting write-ups, getting interviews, and you can see that this was done by fans for fans. And looking back, like I said, it's great now, but at the time, it was a nightmare. And speaking of nightmare, one of these days, I'd like to get a Nightmare on Elm Street box set just like that. Maybe we'll get 4Ks in the movies, but imagine a red box set by the same artist doing the same thing and putting them together. That would be cool. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video looking back at the release of the Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set and its fumbled release. Now, if you have a horror story about this box set, let me know down below. Did you get 2 of the same movies? Did you get the replacement program discs? Did your discs never arrive? Did you have any kind of issue with it? Share your war story down below. But thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.